hire slowly, fire quickly. We try to embody that. I have truly experienced that, which is we've made some hiring decisions that have been too fast or weren't quite the right fit. And maybe we knew that, but we needed to get someone in the door and that person didn't end up working out, whether that was 3, 6, or 12 months down the road. So that's just something that I've seen. And even if you feel like everything's on fire, you got to take the right individual. Otherwise, it's going to hurt you in the long run.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another Knowledge Bomb episode of Lead to Greatness, where we believe in helping others reach their greatest potential and together change the world. Today on Lead to Greatness, we have Eric Fiegoli.
And if this is your first time, don't forget to subscribe. Hit that like button, hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of these amazing episodes. And if you're on iTunes, go ahead and rate the podcast and leave a review. That helps get the word out to great leaders and entrepreneurs like yourself.
Please help me welcome Eric with building and maintaining a successful business.
This is Cedric Francis, and you're listening to Lead to Greatness.
Hello, Eric. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing very well. Thanks so much for having me on, Cedric.
Thank you for being on Lead to Greatness podcast on today. What I want you to do, Eric, is go ahead and introduce yourself to the Lead to Greatness community. Let us know a little bit about you, your story, your background. How do you get to where you are today?
Sure, absolutely. So my name's Eric Fiegoli, and I'm one of the two co-founders of Exbo Group, which is a consulting and advisory firm focused on providing finance, accounting, tax, M&A support to growth stage businesses and investors. I started the firm about 8 years ago with my business partner, Kevin White. Today, we are 68 people total globally, with a mix of folks here in New York City, where we are based, as well as a support team in Kolkata, India. So we have a mixture of team members, but we do have an in-person culture here, and we try to hire everyone that we're hiring in the U.S. Based in our New York office. We find that provides the team members with camaraderie. It allows for better teaching, and allows us to build a better culture in our organization. Kevin, my business partner, who also was my friend from undergrad, and we spent first year doing consulting engagements, working with growth stage businesses. A lot of times those businesses were in the midst of raising capital or had just raised capital, and did the work that we had done for them is essential. It really helped them either get through a fundraise or think about how do they allocate that capital efficiently post doing a fundraise. And from there, Expo Group really grew out of those consulting engagements to what it is today. But ultimately, it started as just us working and thinking through how do we help these businesses, given our backgrounds in finance and accounting, how do we help these businesses think through growth efficiently, and help them form what is the beginning of the finance functions for these businesses that often didn't have any full-time people working there that would support a finance function.
So you talked about you and Kevin got into consulting, and you guys started doing it together. At what point did you guys decide, okay, this is a business? I want to start from ground zero, and then we're going to work all the way up to today.
It's a great question, and I think in the beginning, I don't think we had grand ambitions to start a company, or even grow a business. It was more like, hey, Kevin had a couple of people that he knew from business school that asked for help, and we were able to provide that help. And really what started to take off is when we did good work, those people introduced us to other those companies. Typically the CEO introduced us to other companies at that stage that also needed help. And really, I think it was probably after we had worked with 2 or 3 clients, we started to realize, I think there's an opportunity here to work with these clients on a more consistent basis. And it feels like there's no one operating in the space. And that's really important because we felt like there was some white space, felt like there was an opportunity where, okay, I don't think that there's other good options out there, or maybe there are some options, but they're not really exactly the quality that we're at. So that was when we started to realize, okay, I think there's something here. Also, more practically, it started taking up more and more of our time. And we had to make a decision of like, are we going to jump into this full time? Because I was still working at Amazon for the first year. Kevin was still working at Ernst and Young.
Oh
We
man.
were doing this work on nights and weekends or sitting in phone booths at our
Yeah.
companies. Sorry, Amazon. At a certain point, we had to make a decision because it was starting to really encroach and we weren't able to do both effectively. So I think it was probably at that point where we had a decision to make, and that was about maybe 6 or 9 months in. We started to lay the plans of like, okay, I think we are going to do this full time. And then after a year, and this was mid 2018, I left Amazon, Kevin left EY, and we started this business together. I moved back to New York from Seattle, where
Wow.
we were living, and we got going in a more full-time capacity.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. You talked about good work. I want to talk about that because there's consulting companies all over the place, right? What made you guys stand out? I mean, two different people and you guys come together. It seems like you guys had, similar goals, similar kind of work ethics and things like that and all that. So how did you guys put that together?
We are fairly hardworking, and in the beginning, you get some bumps and bruises. You do take your licks in
Mhm.
terms of you may be working with clients who are difficult. You don't really have your pick because you're trying to get off the ground yourself. So you're
Gotcha.
basically taking, business that comes your way. But I don't think me and Kevin are special. I think we worked really hard in the beginning and really took the clients at face value and weren't particular about the areas in which we were helping. We just kind of realized that they needed a capable set of hands. Kevin and I at that point had worked a combined 15 years in accounting and finance. So we did have a decent amount of experience to advise these companies in an area where these are small businesses. Maybe they're a couple of $1 million in revenue.
Mm,
They probably have 20 people. So if you think about how they're allocating their time, they're mostly thinking about product development and sales and
mm,
growth.
yeah.
They're not thinking about financials or capital efficiency or metrics or strategic things to drive their business forward. So there was an opportunity where when we plugged in, that gave us space to help them think about and unlock some areas where, okay, let's get a better handle on cash. Let's
Mm,
understand what your hiring plan looks like and if you can even execute that plan without running out of cash. So we
mm,
were able to very quickly start working with them in a way where they felt we were adding value. And because they felt like we were adding value really quickly, that gave us the space as well as the opportunity to start digging in deeper with them and really start building those relationships and earning trust. And earning that trust, that's really where you get to a point where you do a great job and someone says, you know what? I actually have a friend or I know someone or someone was in my cohort at this accelerator. They also are looking for finance help. Can I introduce you to them? And we said, absolutely. And that's really how you start to build
mm.
a network and relationships in this area.
That's amazing. Amazing, amazing. Man, Eric, this is great. So you have Eric and Kevin, two individuals start a business. So how do you guys get to the point? Because now your time has been consumed. You say, okay, we have to hire someone. So you have to hire someone, but how in the world do you hire someone and someone that's going to have the same values as Kevin and Eric?
We ended up hiring someone in October of 2018. We hired our first analyst, and we did have some capital saved up because the first year of us operating, so from mid 2017 through mid 2018, if you recall, we were working full time. So
Mm,
we took a lot of the money that we had earned from those initial engagements and saved it. That was really our seed capital.
it's amazing.
So that gave us some space. We're still profitable, but like that still gave us some space to say, okay, let's extend an offer. We need an analyst to help us do some of the hands-on keyboard type work. And if we can hire this person, that will give us more space to do
Mm,
higher level work with clients.
yeah.
And so that's always been our mantra. And Kevin, who comes from a consulting background at EY and he's very process driven, understanding that within consulting broadly, you're always trying to create good processes for the people below you so that they can operate. That's the name of the game.
Mm,
So really throughout our journey, as we have grown from two to four to eight people, we've tried to create good processes in place so that the people working on our teams can run those processes in a way that keeps the work quality very high,
Hmm.
but allows us to leverage ourselves out of some of doing that day-to-day work, but also gives us space to teach them about how do you do client service. Client service is really hard. It's laborious. You're dealing with various types of personalities. People are complex, but if you put good processes in place, that does give people a framework in which they can operate where they don't feel like they're drowning or they feel like something's too amorphous or they feel like something's too, nebulous. It gives
Yeah.
them a framework in which they can operate. And that's really
Wow.
important as you think about scaling.
Wow. I want to shift here, man. This is really good. What are some common mistakes? I want to talk first of some common mistakes that you guys may have made or some lessons that you learned, maybe the first 5 employees. What were some of the mistakes that you guys made, and what are some of the common mistakes you can integrate in it that you see other startups make?
When you need to hire, when you're that size, you really need to hire because there's nowhere to put work when you're a team of 4 or 5 people.
Mm,
When you're growing, and our thing has always been like, we need to say yes to work when it comes on our plate.
gotcha.
We sometimes say no, but the bar, we will usually figure out a way to take on the work. That has
Yeah.
allowed us to grow. Like Kevin and I are maybe gluttons for pain, but we will take on the work. So you sometimes put yourself in situations where the team is very overloaded. Um, and in those situations, you're like, I need to hire. My hair's on fire.
Mm.
And like, I think in those moments, you're very incentivized to hire candidates that are in front of you in order to stem the bleeding and just get a body in there.
Yeah.
But what I've seen and what our experience was, and I think we've made this mistake a few times in the early days and made it a few times after that, you need to like take a long time to hire. I heard this phrase is like hire slowly, fire quickly. And I
Yeah.
think we try to embody that. And I have truly experienced that, which is we've made some hiring decisions that have been too fast or weren't quite the right fit, and
Mm.
maybe we knew that, but we needed to get someone in the door, and that person didn't end up working out, whether that was 3, 6, or 12 months down the road. So that's just something that I've seen. And even if you feel like everything's on fire, you got to take the right individual. Otherwise, it's gonna hurt you in the long run.
What are the effects in the fact of hiring the wrong person and you have to rehire a year later? And also, what does it look like to hire the right person? I mean, what are some things to look for?
So I'll take that question in 2 parts. The first part, like, what are the drawbacks or what are the knock-on effects of hiring the wrong person?
Uh,
I would say a couple things. One is in our business, consulting, there's a lot of training. It's an apprenticeship business. There's a lot of direct one-on-one time that you spend training folks
mm,
around your processes, around what good consulting looks like, and helping them grow. When you hire someone who ends up not being a fit, by the ninth month, that time that you've just invested with them, that goes out the window. So first and foremost, it's time. The second thing is it's also time and expensive to rehire. You now
mm,
have to spend time rehiring and spend time interviewing people. That also stunts growth because you're now starting from square one again from a net person perspective.
yeah.
The last thing I'll say is, as you grow, and maybe when we were 5 or 6 people, we certainly were able to see everything going on at the firm. I can't now. I don't have that visibility into every single client that we work with, and not even close. So what ends up happening is when you hire people too fast and you can't see what they're doing, the quality of the work goes down.
Cheers.
It
Yeah.
puts you at risk of delivering bad or poor work for clients. You can lose client relationships, and that's really valuable to the
Yeah.
firm. Both because if you lose the client relationship directly, that's money out the door, but also reputationally, it could hurt you as well, which is could be even more detrimental because that person could tell someone else.
Yeah.
So, hiring the right people, and then ultimately having the right managers to
Mm,
manage those people, that is what's extremely valuable
wow.
for your firm. Second question was like, what are the traits that you see in people who are good?
Yes.
And I would say it does depend on level. Like if we're hiring a junior person or if we're hiring a mid-level manager or a senior person, those are different traits and different characteristics, and we're looking for different things. But I'll try to talk more generally about what we see across levels
Okay.
where we see success, which is one, it's really important, and this seems so crazy and rudimentary, but like if I can suss out that they care, truly that they have pride and take pride in their work. I know that like if something is broken or a client calls them or there's something that is an activity where there's a need for them to perform and they are going to figure out how to get it done, that's
Mm.
really, really important. It's a bit hard to quantify in an interview process, but if we can suss out that they care and have pride, that's number one.
All right.
The number two thing that we try to sort for, because we're still a small company in the scheme of things, is why do they want to work for Expo Group? Why do they want to work for our firm? And what makes them interested to work here? We want to hire people that are excited about the opportunity. And the way
Uh,
that we can sort through that is we try to ask questions about why they're moving. Why do they want to change jobs? What interests them about the opportunity? What do they want to do in their next 12 or 24 months of their career? And if we can get good answers, and it's not like, oh, I'm looking for a pay increase or I didn't like my manager. If they can really give us good answers around what interests them about working in our field
yeah.
and working with our client group, know that that person's going to have a higher chance for success here because they're interested.
Mm, mm,
So those are just a couple of things. And the last thing is if I talk to them and they can give me some examples of times where they've dealt with adversity and in a way that either doesn't even have to be a positive outcome, but where
mm,
they've been able to deal with adversity and think through and think on their feet and think about the challenges or get help or
yeah.
figure out a way to persevere. That is the last thing because I can tell you in client service, it is not all going to be rainbows and cupcakes, and you're going to need to deal with a challenging situation at some point. So I want to make sure that you have the wherewithal and the ability to think on your feet and deal with those challenges. If we can sort for that, I have a higher degree of confidence in our hiring.
This is good, Eric. So you had asked a question about why do you want to work here? So if you sort out someone to work for the organization, how do you?
So I've never hired someone that I have known personally,
Okay.
but we have made a fair amount of hires in our company where members of our team have referred people or individuals that they know.
Hmm.
And those tend to be great hires because
Mm,
if it's a person that we like and is doing well, they tend to know people that are of the same caliber. And so we have had a lot of success at our company with hiring people that are friends or former colleagues or have worked with them at different jobs. And we've had really, really good success there. I think for a couple of reasons. One is that the people are already vetted from a personality perspective and quality perspective. They wouldn't be, it's also this person that works for us. It's their reputation too. They don't want to bring someone on who's bad. So
yeah.
there's just an inherent check that's in there
Yeah.
to bring on someone who's going to be good. I think the second reason is if they're advocating for the firm and that person knows them, then I think that level of excitement gets that candidate excited, and that
Mm,
allows them to really enjoy and experience and be excited about the opportunity. And then the last thing I would just say is like just inherently, like if you can bring people on that I think you're going to see network effects of them working together better because
mm,
not that everyone has to be best friends at our company, and they certainly aren't. But I think if you can build some community that way or work with people that you have some connection to, that inherently is going to lead to better work process and ultimately cumulatively lead to a better outcome for the group. So those are just like we've had some great referrals in our network, and those tend to be great hires for us.
knowledge bomb. Man, Eric, I'm loving this. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm
Good.
loving it. This is good. This is good. You talked about the inboarding aspect of it, and you talked about training, right? So, as far as training and the extensive training that you all have, how did you guys expand or create this training curriculum?
Well, in the beginning, it wasn't much.
Mhm.
And over time, you build a bigger and bigger repository around training. You build materials, you build work papers, or you build templates that people can start to work off of. And it's a very gradual process. I think, like, if I look back at the company at any time over the last 6 or 12 months, and I hopefully see that we've grown and moved to a better place. So I feel like our training has developed very gradually, from being sort of very person to person to then being more person, but also materials focused to then also incorporating some group trainings,
Mm.
lunch and learns, to starting to navigate not just the technical aspect of the job because we're providing fractional finance and accounting support. So our jobs are fairly technical, but also some of the soft skills training too. So some of the like more client service level training too.
Uh,
And our managers have become really good custodians and champions of what does good client service mean? What is it? What are our expectations around responsiveness? When do you have to be working and available? How do you support clients? What is inbounds for a client to ask and what is out of bounds for a client to ask? And actually, that point's really important too, because we are sort of providing fractional, in a lot of ways, fractional finance, fractional CFO support. We're working with companies that are relatively small,
mm,
sometimes as small as a few $1 million of revenue up to maybe
yeah,
$150 million of revenue.
yeah.
They don't necessarily know what the line is between something that is inbounds for us or out of bounds for us. They
Mm,
may ask us about compensation bands for their people, or can we help them structure a 401(k),
yeah.
or can we help them with treasury management or some sort of HR operations? All things that are like I would say very adjacent to what we do,
Mm.
but maybe not the exact area or where we have functional expertise. So I also think in an effort to be serving clients well, I want our team to know things that we don't do and not to bite off more than we can chew or agree to something where we don't have expertise because that can lead to a bad outcome as well. So I think the training also comes into what are our rules of the road? Where do we operate and where don't we operate as well?
I love it. So Eric, so as far as the training go, did you hire someone to create all this training material for the company? And also, I know you keep bringing up the manager. So here's another twofold question: is as far as the manager go, at what point did you decide, okay, these group of people or this department needs a manager?
Yeah, good question. So I think the training is we have not hired an external training firm. It's very internal, and I'll tell you why, because a lot of the training happens on the job. And when you're hiring an analyst or an associate, but like an analyst, which is the lowest or sort of beginning entry stage role, that individual is going to start learning by doing basic level activities on the account. So
Mm,
it could be activities around accounting or reconciliation. They're going to start to learn how to model and build financial models. They're going to learn how to do projections and forecasting, budgeting. So a lot of the training is practical. We don't really do a ton of training that is just training in a box.
mm,
A lot of the training is around actual client work, but the level at which you're doing it, given where you are, it might be different if you're a analyst or an associate, and the expectations are different. The pace expectations are different. The level of insight is different.
hmm.
So it is important for us to, I think, train people. But the best way that we found that people learn is by doing the work, having a manager review it, giving feedback and letting people fail and fail small and build up confidence and that gets them faster and more confident. Also things like being on client calls, but
Mm.
maybe having an analyst deliver something that's very straightforward or an analysis that's very simple. That helps build confidence. So we do training. A lot of the training we do is through actual work and giving folks bits and pieces and areas where they can excel, build confidence, and start to build the foundational building blocks for growth from there. So that's really about how a lot of our training works. is really like on client experience.
Yeah.
And then how did we build a management layer? It took a lot of time. In the beginning, I mean, we just didn't have a good structure probably until we were, man, I 15 people.
Yeah.
I feel like everything was just all over the place. We had titles that in the beginning that probably didn't make sense, where people who probably didn't, I don't say deserve. I just we gave titles out that probably weren't appropriate. And over time, we've been able to reset the leveling, line everything up in coordination a bit more,
Uh-huh.
and get people where they need to be.
Mm.
But the managers over time have shaken out. Do have a really great group of managers now that have been with us for 4 or 5 years, who are very ingrained in the business. They're leading bigger teams. They often have even a manager below them, so they're more
Mm.
like a senior manager managing a group.
Wow.
Um, and at this point, their focus is really on keeping the quality bar high, margin, and less on execution and day-to-day work. So, but that has taken us definitely at least the last few years to build out. We certainly didn't like start with a very rigid structure in the
Yeah.
beginning. It probably took us at least until 3 to 4 years in to really kind of prove out that management layer.
Yeah. I want to kind of shift a little bit to Expo. I'm listening, you and I can imagine Kevin just as amazing as you are, and all of the amazing employees and partners that you guys have in your organization. That may be a client right now. Someone listening right now is like, man, how could I work with this organization? So I want you to kind of explain what type of clients you guys deal with. I mean, what is that avatar? What do that look like? Who is that individual, and why should they consider you all to do
Sure.
the consulting work?
Yeah, so we work with many types of businesses, but I would say if I could define the lion's share of the clients that we work with are, and there's a couple of different dimensions.
Hmm.
So oftentimes we're working with businesses that either want or need to scale their finance function and
Mm.
accounting function. And oftentimes that is for a couple reasons. One, maybe they're an owner operated or bootstrap business, but they're looking to get investment down the road, and they know that they need to build a more sophisticated and professionalized function.
Mm.
We can really help businesses that are, more rudimentary or starting more at the ground, but they want to scale and they're interested in investing in that area.
Okay.
We can really drive that whole process and build out a complete finance function from the ground up. We're often working with, size-wise, like I had mentioned, we're often working with businesses that are a couple $1 million in revenue all the way up through 150 million dollars in revenue is probably the top end, but
Mm.
probably our sweet spot is anywhere from 5 to 25 million dollars of revenue.
Mm.
Those are kind of the I would say the biggest portion of businesses that we're working with. And oftentimes businesses may have just gotten an investment.
Mm.
That could be from like a minority investment from a venture investor, or a growth equity type investor that is going to make a minority investment in that business and help them and give them capital to grow. Or sometimes we're working with businesses that have just received investment from more of like a control investor, like a private equity investor. And those investors are really going to be more active or more involved in the day-to-day growth of the business. And they might need also, they're looking for a partner like us to help a CFO or help fill a gap as they hire a CFO for full time, but they need help in the interim to grow and scale and organize their finance function. So those are opportunities, or those are the timing in which we work. And I would say vertical, or like, what types of businesses we work with. We tend to work with a lot of software businesses, services businesses. We work a lot in healthcare and healthcare services, and we do some work in e-commerce as well.
Mm.
those are the some of the sectors where we have expertise and have a focus. We work with a lot of other types of businesses too, but if I think about our client portfolio and the types of businesses that we work with more frequently, those are the ones.
Hmm.
So, and I would just say, we're very easy to get in touch with. We're a very collaborative team. We're very proactive and hands-on just in terms of how we operate, and we try to be really good partners with our management teams and meet them where they are and help them think about where do they want to go and help build plans to get there. So that's kind of us and where we work.
So you told me about Kevin being more process driven. So are you more analytical driven?
I feel like we both have that skill set. I would say that Kevin is a slightly more, he has more of a maybe a technical or process driven background than me.
Mm.
He's a CPA by trade. I am not, though I have done my fair share of accounting and finance work. I would say my skill set is maybe more aligned in people management, also in some of the business development efforts that we do today. Though I will say, like Kevin and I both do a significant amount of business development. We are good complements to each other, I would say. Our team thinks so. Maybe just in terms of personalities. But we've known each other for almost 20 years,
Uh,
and we tend to complement each other well, or bounce ideas off each other, and we're able to really work well and just be good balances to each other when there's challenging times. We do have disagreements, but we have a deep respect for each other, and having worked together for so long,
mm.
that our kind of like trust in each other and decision making is really strong. And that helps us a lot too. If one feels very passionate or certain about something, we'll usually say, go for it.
Yeah.
So.
Eric, what are some practical leadership growth tips, tool, advice that you can share with the Lead to Greatness community to help us reach our greatest potential?
I think one thing that like high performing people, or I think strong performers think is, oh, well, no one can do the work as good as I can. And when you have high performers, I think they don't always want to let go
Mm.
of the work because they think no one can do this as good as me. And they're probably right
Wow.
about that. But I think if you're actually thinking about growing and scaling yourself and growing a business, and doesn't just go for consulting, but any business, you need to be able to scale yourself out of that work so
Mm.
that you can ultimately move into a managerial position or a sales position. Because ultimately, like where if you're thinking about growth and you're thinking about management, it's always going to focus on sales at a certain level. You're always going to be doing sales once you get to a certain level in an organization. So, in order for you to scale yourself out of that work, you need to build process and build trust in the people below you. And if you
Mm.
don't, and you don't let them take the reins, you'll never be able to scale yourself out of that day-to-day work, and you're going to handicap yourself. And
Mm.
that is not going to allow you to grow as a person. So, it's
Uh,
really important that over time, that even when you might feel uncomfortable, you let go and be comfortable letting go and knowing that like the work that they're doing might not be exactly how you're going to do it, but it will be good. It will be good enough, and that you'll be able to scale yourself out, and that will allow you to grow and spread your wings and allow you to build a team under you. That's the most important thing that we teach our managers, because a lot of times they don't want to give up control, and that's
mm.
totally normal. But you have to give up control if you
Yeah.
want to grow, which is
Uh,
really important.
Knowledge bomb, man, Eric. This has been amazing. I'm definitely have enjoyed this conversation with you, man. You definitely dropped a lot of knowledge and insight from your 8 years experience and your over 30 plus years experience, with combined, efforts. So, man, thank you. And, man, hats off to you and hats off to Kevin as well. I mean, for the amazing job that you guys have done and continue to do. If someone wants to connect with you and what you're doing, where should they go?
Yeah, absolutely. You can go on our website, expogroup.com, EXB as in boy, O group.com, or you could reach out to contact@expogroup.com, which is how you can get a hold of us, or you can find us on LinkedIn, or me personally, Eric Fiegoli, on either LinkedIn, or email me directly, eric.fiegoli at expogroup.com. And if you have a business or you're looking for even advice, we're always happy to take a call and try to understand a problem and help you out. We built a business on just saying yes to taking calls, and that's what we'll continue to do. So I would encourage anyone to, if they're looking or need help on the financial operations side, to please reach out. We'd be happy to speak with you. And then Cedric, I just wanted to thank you for having me on today. It was a great time speaking with you. I really enjoyed it, and this was such an awesome experience.
Thank you. On behalf of the Lead to Greatness podcast, I want to thank you so very much for taking time out of your busy schedule and adding value to us all.
Great.
We want to thank you for joining us today on the Lead to Greatness podcast. So remember, if you help others reach their greatest potential, together we can change the world. Peace.